If you've ever tried to understand the German education system and felt confused, you are not alone. Even many Germans do not fully understand it. Germany splits students very early. Not everyone goes to university, and not everyone who goes to university followed the same path. But here is the most important thing, and this is the key message of this video. Not going to gymnasium does not mean you can't go to university, and it definitely does not mean you can't become a software engineer. In the next 2 minutes, I'll explain how the German school system works, step by step, and how different paths can still lead to career in tech. Let's start at the beginning. All children in Germany start with Grundschule, primary school. This usually lasts from grade 1 to grade 4, in some states until grade 6. At the end of Grundschule, something important happens. Teachers give a recommendation for the next type of school. And this is where the system starts to branch. The first fork. Gymnasium and Realschule. After Grundschule, students usually go to one of several school types. Today, I'll focus on the two most important ones, Gymnasium and Realschule. Gymnasium is the most academic track. Students typically go from grade 5 to grade 12 or 13, depending on the federal state, Bundesland. At the end, they take an exam called the Abitur. The Abitur gives direct access to universities in Germany. This is the classic path many people think of: Gymnasium, Abitur, university. Gymnasium is not one thing. Now, before we move on, there is something important to understand about Gymnasium in Germany. A gymnasium is not one single standardized type of school. Almost every gymnasium is a little bit different. Some gymnasiums have a strong focus on mathematics, science, or technology. Others specialize in music, where students are expected to play instruments, perform, and often continue into music universities or conservatories. There are also general-purpose gymnasiums without a strong specialization. And then there are gymnasiums that surprise many foreigners. Many German gymnasiums still teach Latin. Some even teach Ancient Greek. For some people coming from other countries, this can sound completely strange. You might ask, why would my child learn Latin or Ancient Greek if they want a successful career? Well, here is the important point. In Germany, these subjects are not about getting a highly paid job in the first place, though it is expected from future doctors and possibly lawyers to be familiar with Latin. Such strange language courses are about training how to think. They focus on logic, structure, language precision, historical context, and abstract reasoning. Traditionally, graduates from these classical gymnasiums often become journalists, politicians, academics, lawyers, or people working in government. They are part of the group that shapes public discourse. So the value of these schools is often social and cultural, not directly economic. And yes, if you want your kid to be in the club of future businessmen or politicians, such gymnasiums are the right place. That doesn't make such schools better, it makes them different. And here is an important message to parents. Research matters, and this leads to a very important point, especially for parents. If you want your child to go to a gymnasium, you should not choose one blindly. A highly ranked gymnasium may look impressive, but if it focuses heavily on Latin, Ancient Greek, or music, and your child hates those things, this can become a problem very quickly. It may be even trickier. Your child may think he likes a future school profile, but when on board, finds out it's not his thing. Switching gymnasiums may not be an easy process, since schools are full and finding another one after a year can be challenging. So think twice and in advance. So the real question is not, is this a famous gymnasium? The real question is, does the gymnasium fit my child? What are their strengths? What do they enjoy? How do they learn? For some children, a broad classical education is perfect. For others, a more general or practical focused gymnasium makes much more sense. I personally have 4 children, and they all are in gymnasium, though they are all in different gymnasiums because their strengths are different. One child is definitely an artist, another one supposed to become a doctor, and the third one would probably be an engineer, and the fourth one looking towards entrepreneurship. So this is a different career path that they most likely will choose, so it was a bit of a challenge for us to find the proper gymnasium and allocate kids correctly. So we even had to change once from one gymnasium to another because the initially chosen profile of the school was not fitting the child well. And this is exactly why the German system has so many parallel paths. And this also explains why not going to a gymnasium or not finishing Abitur is not a failure. It's often just a different and sometimes better fit. So let's talk about the Realschule, where the many people think is not good or even bad, but it's simply different. It usually ends after grade 10. Students graduate with what's called Mittlere Reife. Sometimes people informally say Mittelstufe. With Mittlere Reife alone, you cannot go directly to university. And this is where many people think the story ends. But in Germany, this is where the story actually begins. This track, by the way, is very important for foreigners and refugees, since depending on the time of arrival to Germany, kids may not have enough time to learn German good enough to do the Abitur, but it does not mean they become outliers. Germany has a very strong idea that education does not have only one correct path. One of the most important alternatives is called Ausbildung, so-called the dual studium or dual systems. Ausbildung is vocational training. You work at a company and go to a vocational school at the same time. It usually lasts 2 or 3 years. And yes, you get paid while learning, which may be quite important for families with limited financial resources, employment issues, and legal documents to stay in the country, in particular for refugees. The Ausbildung, in my opinion, is a very German thing. This country was built, or I would say resurrected after the Second World War by highly skilled labor, not necessarily spent years in a university. For many East Europeans, however, university education is not simply a way to get knowledge and skills in order to make a successful career, but to a large extent is a reputational act, which puts a graduate ahead of others simply by the fact of having a university diploma. On the other hand, here in Germany, the word overqualified is frequently used as a rejection reason, because many roles in companies do not necessarily require a university diploma, so why hire a university graduate and possibly overpay? And here is something many international people don't realize. Some of the most common IT careers in Germany start with Ausbildung. For example, Fachinformatiker für Anwendungsentwicklung, application development. Please try to repeat this word, Fachinformatiker für Anwendungsentwicklung, the application development, or Fachinformatiker für Systemintegration, systems and infrastructure. Many professional software developers in Germany started here, not at university. I worked with many of them in my career, and these were highly practical professionals with strong technical skills and large experience in industry, because they started working in the industry almost immediately after school. After Realschule, often combined with Ausbildung, there is another important qualification. It's called Fachabitur or Fachhochschule. This qualification allows you to study at the University of Applied Sciences, also called Fachhochschule. This path usually takes longer, but it keeps academic doors open, which mean you can't graduate from such a Fachabitur and then go to the university. Germany has two main types of universities. The first is the traditional Universität. It is more theoretical and research focused. It usually requires Abitur. Typical computer science programs here focus on theory, math and research. And then Fachhochschule or University of Applied Sciences. It is more practical, more industry-oriented and very popular in tech. In the job market, graduates from Fachhochschulen are not considered second class, especially in software engineering. Skills and experience matter more than labels. So let's put this all together. Path number 1. Gymnasium, Abitur, University, Software Engineer. Path number 2. Very common in Germany. Realschule, Ausbildung in IT, Fachabitur, Fachhochschule, Software Engineer. And path number 3. Ausbildung, work experience, and later part-time or applied computer science studies. Different paths, same destination. So, in the conclusion, the German education system is not about deciding your entire life at age 10. It's about different speeds, different learning styles, and multiple chances. If you are about to make a decision for your kids, dive deep into the topic and learn how things really work in Germany. It may look complicated, but it is not. And in software engineering especially, Germany values what you can do, not just how early you choose the academic path. If you are interested in tech careers, software engineering, or engineering management in Germany, feel free to follow along. Thanks for watching, and if you like the video, like the video. See you next time!